Plus, our learning should be a panacea. Starting the top line, the second to the top line on Yoma Daf. So we said that the Shekhinah wasn't in the second base of Mikdash, only in the first base of Mikdash. He said, Yafta likim liyefes v'yishkin b'alei shem. Alei shem meant that Shem, there's three sons of Naya, right? Shem, Cham, and Yafet. Shem is the father of the Jewish people. So that was the first base of English that was built by Shlomo Melech. So that's where the Yishkin Bali Shem. Shem will dwell in the tents of Shem. But Yafes, which that's we're going to translate now as Persia, they built the second base of English, so they allowed us to build the second base of English. So the Shekhinah wasn't there. How do you know that the Persians come from Yefes? Right? From that son of Naya. We always say Yefes was like Greece. Yefes, the Gemara says that you can write a Sefer Torah in Greek because it's beautiful. The Ksiv, so we have to figure this out. It says, B'nei Yefes, Goimer u'Magai u'Madai v'Yavan v'Suval u'Meshach v'Siras. How many is this? There's 7 children. Goimer, Magai, Madai, v'Yavan v'Suval u'Meshach v'Siras. 7 children of Yefes. We have to figure out where these places are in order to get this. So it starts off with Goimer, the first son. Goig and Magai. Yeah, we're actually going to mention that shortly. Oops, I'm sorry. Did someone want to ask something? Okay. So Goimer is Garmamia. Yeah, I would like to say that that's Germania, but it doesn't say that exactly. Let's say it is. I don't know. What's the Aleph? Yeah, the Gross has Germania. He switches that extra, the double mem for a nun. Magog, right? That's the second son. Is it? That's not Germany. We're talking about Germania, which is, the Germania was there. The Germanic tribes were there, right? It wasn't the country. The reason why they called it Germany was.
Franco says northern Syria near Armenia.
Okay. So Magog is Candia, and it looks like Canada, but it's not. This is in Greece, and it may be Crete, maybe the island of Crete. It's not Canada, no. Madai, what is Madai? So Macedonia, which is Macedonia, right? We know Macedonia, Philip, right? Alexander's father was from Macedonia. Alexander Mokdon, right? That's what he's called. Alexander the Macedon. Yavan is Kamashma. Yavan is Greece. That we know. Tuval. That's son number 5. Zebe Sunaiki. Yeah, I don't have any comment for that. Any comment? What is Sunaiki? Meshech. Zu Mosia, which is probably Maesha. Maesha was north of Greece. What do you have? Tell me where you're reading from. Based about Mashmai. Oh my gosh. So Madai Kimashmai in Yavan Macedonia. He switches it around. Bach switches it the opposite. That Madai, we know where Madai is. So, but Yavan, that's Macedonia. Okay, whatever. That's the Bach. Thank you, Chaim. Meshach is Musi Mayesha. Tiras. What is Tiras? So figure Rab Simai Verabanan. Barmila Rab Simai Verabanan. What is this? The 7th son of Yefes. Sechar Amar Zubes Taraiki. which they translate as Thrace. And V'chad Amar Zupras, one says that it's Persia. Okay, if that's the case, then Yafta Likim Liyefes is referring to Persia, right? The Persians were able to build the second Beis Hamikdash, but God doesn't dwell there. Tani Rabbi Yosef, Tiras Upras. Rabbi Yosef taught also that Tiras is Pras. Okay, period. Now we go to the children of Cush. The Gra and the commentaries explain that. Thank you. That from the three sons of Noah, they have Shem, Cham, and Yafes. Cham went to the south, to Africa. Shem went to the east, and Yafes went to the north of the Mediterranean. So south of the Mediterranean, east of the Mediterranean, north of the Mediterranean would be Shem, Cham, and Yafes. Right? Okay, so like Egypt and Nubia, whatever, Ethiopia, all of that would be Cham. And Greece and those north of the Mediterranean is Yefes. And then Shem goes to Israel and whatever else, Jordan. Persia is not going to fit. Doesn't fit with this. Well, Italy would be north of the Mediterranean, which would be Yefes. Right? Rome. If that works. Okay, let's see. Yeah, this gets confusing. So Savta, Varama, Vasavtacha. These are from the sons of Cush. We have Siva, Chavila, and then the pasuk goes on. Savta, Varama, Vasavtacha. So Tani Rabbi Yosef taught that Sakistan, Gavaisa, the Sakistan Braisa. We're explaining over here Savta and Savtacha. What are these two? They sound very similar. What are these two places? So it's two areas that one surrounds the other one. Yeah, if you read this differently, you would read Tani Rabbi Yosef, Sakistan Gavaisa and Sakistan Braisa. That wouldn't sound more like a country, right? So I don't know where it is. So anyway, one is inside the other one, and it goes on. It says, "Ben chadal chadamei parsi." In between the two, there's 100 parsais. That's a space. The kefa, but the circumference of the whole of the outer one would be alfi parsi. Would be 1,000 parsais. That doesn't have to be so big, because that's just the circumference. Okay. The beginning of his rulership, of his kingship, which is referring to now Nimrod. We're jumping around a little bit here. But the beginning of Nimrod's rulership was Bavel, Erech, Akkad, and Kalne. Bavel is Kamashmai. We know what Babylonia is. That's Bavel. That's is Babylonia considered Iraq? Is that the whole Erech, Zu, Oricus. This is what they call Uruk, right? From the ancient cities, Uruk. Uruk or Uruk. Akkad is a Baskar. Yeah, I don't know what that is. And Kalne is a Nufir Ninfi. Any comments over there on the? Okay, so. Min ha'aretz hahi yatsa asher. There's two ways of reading this pasuk. There's Machlekes Rashi and the Ramban. It could be that there was a person by the name of Asher, and from that land came out Asher, this person. Now he also built a country called Asher, Syria. However, the other commentators, the Ramban learned Min ha'aretz hahi yatsa asher, that Nimrod is not referring to Yatsa is not referring to Asher. It's not Asher left. From that land, Yatsa Asher, Nimrod went to Asher. Yes, it could be read differently. He came from there and then he went over to Asher. Tanur Rabbi Yosef, Asher, what is Asher? Here, Asher is a place, not a person, right? Asher is a silik. Okay. But even as Ninveh, we're talking about Nimrod, he built Ninveh, Besrechayve Seir, Veskala. He built 3 cities. Now, Ninveh, what is Ninveh? Kamashma, we know what Ninveh is. Right. What was in Ninveh? Famous, they had hanging gardens or something. There's a right. Right. I don't know if it exists, if anything's left of those wonders today. Rechayve Seir, Zu Paras de Meshan, in Kalach, Zu Paras de Borsif. It sounds like the Euphrates River went through different areas. So Rechayve Seir was the Euphrates of Meshan, and Kalach is the Euphrates of Borsif. That's what it sounds like. Vesresen ben Ninveh ben Kalach. Here, Gedela. Okay, this gets a little confusing in this pasuk. It says that Resen is between Ninveh and Kalach. It is the big city. Now, what's the big city? Resen or Ninveh? Taisvis asks. Oh, is that one really? Oh, I don't remember that. That's very interesting.
Thank you for paying attention to the court.
Resen is Aktisfine. Katisfun. Here, Agadola. That's the big city. What? No, I'm sorry. Here, Agadola, as the Gemara is about to ask. This is the big city. I don't know what it's referring to when it says it's the big city. It doesn't mean Ninveh is the big city, or it doesn't mean Resen is the big city. Taisvis on the top says, why doesn't it ask if Kalach is the big city? Because we've mentioned 3 places. So Taisvis says that in the wording of the pasuk, but even as Ninveh, what's the pasuk? Besresen ben Ninveh ben Kalach, here Agdala. If Kalach would have been the big city, then it would have said Kalach ha'ir Hagdala. When it goes back and it makes a pronoun he ha'ir Hagdala, it is the big city. It has to be going on something that it said previously, which is either Ninveh or Resen. Yeah. Well, it depends if you include the Bronx. Okay, we quote another source from Yaina that says that Ninveh is the big city. So when we're speaking about Resen and Ninveh, let's see what happens here. The problem is, oh, okay. So that was what you said. Oh, really? So that must be that they're getting it from they get it from that. Okay. Yeah, this is the here I have on this map over here, as you can see, here I have I have Meshan, Media, Persia. I really have ruins of Babylon, but I'm really looking at Armenia. It's really a Amora map. So what the Gemara is doing here is going back to the biblical times, of the times of Nimrod and those early, the sons of Noah, right? Let's see. We'll see. We'll get some clarity maybe in a minute. Okay, Visham. I'm sorry.
I was going to say that Nineveh is modern day Mosul.
Uh-huh.
Which is a lot of the wars recently were there.
Uh-huh. And is there anything left from the ruins of, it must have been a tremendous city?
Yeah, I think so.
Uh-huh.
It's the second biggest city in Iraq.
Oh,
That's big. Yeah.
uh-huh. Interesting.
Thank you, Daniel. This is a map, especially the world around one DC.
Okay, so here I would just see the Seleucid dynasty, Mauryan Empire, Scythians. Yeah, I don't recognize all of these names. Media. Right. Okay. Okay. Visham, and over there now we jump to Kalev as one of the spies goes to David in Hebron. When he goes to Hebron, it says Visham Achiman Sheshai V'Talma Yilidei Anak. Over there are these giants, or the sons of the giant, Achiman, Sheshai, and Talmai. Tana Achiman Miyuman Shabachim. Achiman sounds like he's the strongest of the brothers. Sheshai Shemesim Esar's Keshchises.
Human means
The on the right. I don't know. Sounds like this means the strongest.
skillful.
Skillful. Oh, interesting.
Oh boy.
Okay. Two right hands. Sheshai is Shemesim Esar's Keshchises. He makes the land like ruins. I guess he walks around. He was so big, he would knock things over and destroy the land. That is Sheshai. The shin, there's a double shin, and Rashi's saying that Sheshai, Hashes v'Hashper, means destruction. Shin echad levade sherish b'teva. I didn't know Rashi does that. I knew Rashi did that Rashi in the French linguist felt that a shirish in Hebrew could be two letters, not 3 letters. Here it says that the shirish is 1 letter. Shin echad levade shirish b'teva. Interesting. The shin, and it's like double. Talmai shemesim esaretz tlamim. Why is he called Talmai? Because he made the land into furrows. Tlamim is a row, is like a ditch. So, like as if the plow went over it. I guess when he walked, he would like go into the ground. That's what it sounds like. Big, yeah.
But she said no.
No, then he was also big. He got the name because he made the land like ruins. Okay, the Gra and the Bach. No, not the Gra. The Bach and someone else here takes out the Davarach. Yeah, and the Gra take out the Davarach. Davarach, let's leave it out. Achiman bana Anas. Sheshai bana Alash. Talmai bana Talbash. I don't know what these cities are, but apparently each of them built a city. Yilidei Anak. What does it mean they're the sons of the giant? It says Shamanikin Achama b'Kemasun. They make the sun look like a necklace.
Wow.
Because I guess they would pick their head up, and the head would go into the sun. Because they were so tall, they would block the sun. So it looked like it was coming down over their head. Maybe that's the chunk. Huh? Is that how they explain it?
You don't have to be tall. You're supposed to be
Necklace.
You don't have to be tall.
Right. Amar Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, Amar Rebbe. Okay, this may help Yossi, your discussion before. Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi says in the name of Rebbe. Levi was a student of Rebbe, and this is his son, Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi. Asida Roimi Shetipol Biad Pras. Rome is going to fall into the hands of Persia. Rome is going to fall into the hands of Persia. Yeah, historically, I think Greece conquered Persia. Right? That was the big battle with Alexander. So it must be something in the future.
Well, it says
Asida in the future, Rome will fall into the hands of Persia. It would be the Christians will fall into the hands of the Muslims. That's how we would translate it today. If it happened, the Christians fall into the hands of the Muslims, like in the Crusades. The other, okay. שנאמר לכן שמעו עצת השם אשר יועץ על אדם מחשבייסו ואשר חשב על ישרי תימן אם לא יסחבום צעירי יצאין אם לא ישם עליהם נוים. Therefore, listen to the counsel of God regarding Edom and its thoughts that it thought about the settlers of Taman. If they don't drag away the young sheep, if they're not shocked about them. Yasam leim noyam, be shocked. Maskefla Rabba Bar Ula, my mash madai tziratzain pras. We're talking about that the Tzirei Yatzain are going to drag them. Now, you're saying that the Tzirei Yatzain, the young of the flock, is referring to Persia, and it's going to drag Edom, which is Rome. Where are you getting this from? The Ksiv ha'ayal asher isa bal karnayim hu malchei madi pras. Well, we know that there's a male sheep, which has these horns, which is referring to the kings of Media and Persia. So if the sheep is Media and Persia, so they're going to drag away Edom. Okay. However, ve'ema Yavan, but maybe it's the other way. Maybe it's Greece. The Ksiv ha'tzafir hasor melech Yavan, the goat. When you speak about a flock, it could be sheep or goats. Now, sheep is a reference to Persia, but a goat is a reference to Greece. So maybe it's Greece that's going to drag away Rome. Were there battles between Rome and Greece? What was the Peloponnesian? What was that? Those battles. Was that Persia or was that Daniel? Okay. Oh, those are the Greek cities themselves. Okay. So, Kisalak Rab Chaviv, that's the question that who's asking? Rabba Bar Ula. Is saying about the comments from Rabbi Shua ben Levi in the name of Rabbi. Kisalak Rab Chaviva Bar Surmaki, Amr Kameder Humerabanan. Rav Chaviva Bar Surmaki said this in front of one of the rabbis. Amr Lei, he said to him, Mandala Layada Prushikra Maisiv Tivtul Rabbi. Someone that doesn't know how to translate Psukim is asking a question on Rabbi. My Tziri Yatzain. What does it mean, the young of the flock? Zutra da'achui. It's not referring to the reference that the flock is referring to sheep, and therefore sheep is Persia. The young of the flock is referring to the youngest of the brothers. And in the brothers we had of Yefes, and Yefes, or the sons, is Gomer Magag Madai Yivayavan of Suvul Meshach Vesiras. And the Tani Rabbi Yosef, Tiras Zepras. Tiras is Persia. Okay, that's our explanation. Amar Rabba Bar Bachanam Rabbi Yechanan Mishum Rabbi Yehuda Rabbi Loi. Asida Raimi Shetipal Biad Pras. Rome is going to fall into the hands of Persia. Kal v'chaimer, and he has Kal v'chaimer for this. Ma Mikdash Rishon Shebanu B'nei Shem. Who built the first base of Mikdash? Shlomo HaMelech. He's a Semite, right? He's the son of Shem. V'chrivu Kastim, and the Chaldeans destroyed it. Naflu Kastim Biad Parsian, and the Chaldeans, Kastim, they fell into the hands of the Persians. The Persians conquered them. So Mikdash Sheni Shabanu Parsian, Vechvivu Raimim, Eine din shiplurim biad parsim. So look at this. Here's the thought process here. That if the Persians take revenge for the of the custom for destroying the Beis Hamikdash, and they allow us to rebuild the second Beis Hamikdash, and then the Romans destroy what the Persians built. So shouldn't the revenge be taken on the Romans for destroying, and the Romans should fall into the hands, and the Persians, and the Romans should fall into the hands of the Persians? And here we're saying, so that's the logic. Therefore, Rome should fall into the hands of the Persians. That's the Kal V'chomer, because they destroyed what the Persians built. If the Persians took revenge from what they didn't even do, they didn't even build the first Beis Hamikdash. They took revenge on those that built the first Beis, that destroyed the first Beis Hamikdash. So the ones that destroyed the second Beis Hamikdash, the person should for sure take revenge against them, which they did. They built it. Rav Yehuda, Rav, I'm sorry, you see the prasha people be adremi. Persia is going to fall into the hands of Rome. This is a different story. It's a different story. This is the opposite of what we were saying. We were saying over here. So here we're saying that the whole time we were saying that Rome will fall into the hands of Persia. Now we're saying that Persia is going to fall into the hands of Rome. Amar le Rav Kana v'Ravasi l'Rav. Rav Kana and Ravasi ask Rav. They were students of Rav. They say, and Rav is the one that's saying this. They say, "Benui biad sitrui." The builders are going to fall into the hands of the destroyers. That means the Persians are going to fall into the hands of Rome, the ones that destroyed the Beis Hamikdash. Amalu in. Rav says yes. Gezerus Melachi. It's a decree. Ikad Amri. There are those that say Amar Lahu. He said to them, Inu nami hu kasasri bekinishta. The Persians are not so great. They destroy shoals. Tani nami hachi. There's another brisa that says Asida pras shetipel biadremi, that Persia is going to fall into the hands of Rome. Chada desasri bekinishta. First of all, they destroy shoals. Also, it's a decree that the builders should fall into the hands of the destroyers. Persia built, it was Koresh, was the king of Persia, Cyrus. But they also built in some English, right? So Rav Yehuda says in the name of Rav, In ben David ba, Mashiach will not come at Tifshid Malchus Remer Harashah B'chol Olam Kulei, Tisha Chadashim, until Rome will rule the world for 9 months. Shenemar, L'chein Yitnem ad Eisi Leida, Yalda the Yasrech of Yeshuvan al Bnei Yisrael. We'll give them the amount of time that it takes for to give birth.
So probably months in those days.
Yeah.
They're still going.
Cyrus, Koresh, gave permission. He gave permission. He didn't build it himself. He gave support, I think. Sorry? Okay. Someone told me that, well, first of all, there's a whole discussion about if Edom is considered Rome. The Evan Ezra, we usually say that Edom is Rome. Edom is Esau. Here we're not playing with that. Here we're doing. Did we say who Rome was? Yeah, Al Edom. Who is Edom here? We didn't explain that it's Esau. We didn't discuss that. The Evan Ezra makes a big deal about it. He says that it's impossible. He says Edom is the wrong side. Edom is on the other side of the Yarden, and Rome is on the other side. It says it doesn't make sense.
I think Edom is mostly the color.
Right. Okay. the Russian Orthodox Church wore red, which is Edom. Edom is red, and I think they always associated that with red. The Pope was a red yarmulke. That's right. Okay. Tanu Rabbanan. We'll start in the Bryce and we'll go back to some Gemara, halachic Gemara. Kala lishke sheiv mikdash leya lehem mezuzah chutzim lishkas parhedron sheiva beis dir lekein gadol. It's an interesting question. Did they have mezuzahs in the Beis Hamikdash? Well, no one slept. No one slept there. It wasn't really a house to live in. It was the house of a mezuzah beisecha, right? That's why we don't put a mezuzah on it. No, we don't. Officially, if it would just be a shul, the Yekish shuls don't have the mezuzah on the top. They don't. It's just without me. No one sleeps or anything. Our shuls we use it for everything. We if there's a big fabrengen, we make it in the shul.
I see people sleep here. Not overnight.
So, yeah, why is it important not to talk during the rabbi's speech? You don't want to wake up the people. So Lishkas Parhedron, that's where the Kohen Gadol slept. So that has a mezuzah. Amar Rabbi Yehuda. 1 second. There were many rooms there. But they didn't have mezuzahs. Ella Lishkas Parhedron Gzeira Haisa. Rather, the Lishkas Parhedron was a decree. Now, the Gemara doesn't explain yet what the decree is, but it says it was a decree that room had a mezuzah. My time with the Rabbi Yehuda. What's the reason for Rabbi Yehuda that's making this discussion, saying that really there wasn't necessary to have a mezuzah, but it's there because of a decree? Amar Rabba, Kasav Rabbi Yehuda Kol Bayis She'ena Asir L'Meisachem L'Meisach Geshamim Eina Bayis. Rabbi Yehuda holds that a house needs to be there all year round, and therefore the Lishkas Parhedron was only used for 7 days of the year, which 7 days before Yom Kippur. So really, it's just an empty house. It doesn't need a mezuzah. It needs to be used all year. Eisvei Abaya. Abaya is a question. Quotes a pasuk. I will hit the winter house because of the summer house. 1 second. You see that it's called a house, even if it's just a winter house or a summer house. It's still called bias. Amalei, they responded to him. A winter house and a summer house is not called a house. It's called winter house and summer. It's not called a plain house. It's clearly called, a house with a modifier, with the winter house. Eisvei Abaya. Abaya is a question. Sukkah sachag b'chag. Rabbi Yehuda mechayev acham paitrim. This is a big question. Rabbi Yehuda holds that a sukkah on sukkahs requires a mezuzah.
Whoa. 30 days. Yeah, I read that mezuzah.
What does 30 days come from? That's because when we rent a house in Chutz La'aretz, we don't put on for 30 days. If you buy a house, you put it on right away. Right? I think it was just renting that was 30 days. But Chacham and Pata, they say a sukkah doesn't require a mezuzah. Now the problem is, let's go further. V'tani Allah, Rabbi Yehuda mechayev be'eruv u'mezuzah b'maiser. There's a brisa there that says, Rabbi Yehuda says that it also requires an eruv. What does an eruv mean? That if someone lives there, or that house needs to give food to be able to carry an eruv tchumen, and not eruv tchumen, eruv chateres, to be able to carry in the courtyard. They have another resident there, and it's also chayav meiser, which means that if you grow grain, when do you take meiser? When you bring it into the house. So what if you brought it into the mezuzah, into the sukkah? You bring it into the sukkah, that's as if you brought it into the house. So we have these 3 halachas here that are saying that a sukkah is like a house. Maybe we'll say, you know what? It's only chayav midrabanan in a mezuzah. So the Gemara says, 1 second. Bishlema Erev u'mezuzah k'lameimim mid'Rabbanan. You can get away with that with an Erev and a mezuzah and say that it's only mid'Rabbanan. That's going to resolve the contradiction in Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda said that the houses, the chambers in the Beis Hamikdash don't require a mezuzah, but a sukkah does require a mezuzah. That's a contradiction. Well, we'll say that it only requires mid'Rabbanan. The problem is, but when it comes to Meiser, we have a huge issue. Meiser, it's some of your grain is going to be chayiv min haTorah. Some of your grain is going to be chayiv mid'Rabbanan. And if that's the case, if you're going to make Meiser chayiv, Meiser that's brought into the sukkah, you're going to make it chayiv. Really, it's not chayiv. And you're going to end up taking Meiser from the grain that was brought into the sukkah for grain that was brought into the house. One is only chayiv mid'Rabbanan, one's chayiv mid'Oraisa. You're going to be taking mina p'tur ala chiyuv. It's not, it doesn't get fixed. That's a problem. Taisus has a strong question there. I didn't go through the answer, but Taisus asks, there's so many times that you have chiyuv mid'Rabbanan, we didn't ask this question. There's other cases of Meiser mid'Rabbanan. Okay. Ela Marabaya, Abaya says, B'Shiva, during the 7 days that the Kohen Gadol is living in the Lishkas Parhedron, so then he agrees that it's chayiv. Everyone would say that it's chayiv mezuzah for those 7 days. Keep ligi b'shayim ma'asashana. The machlekes is the rest of the year, and this would actually fit because Rabbi Yehuda said the sukkah is chayiv on sukkahs, and the lishkas parhedron is chayiv on before in Aseres Yimei Tshuva. So keep ligi b'shayim ma'asashana. Rabbanan sabri gazrin and shayim ma'asashana to shiva. Rabbi the sabri lei gazrin. And the Rabbi Yehuda says you don't make a gzeira on the Lishkas Parhedron the rest of the year. Amalei Rava has a question. You can get away with this by explaining the Lishkas Parhedron, what the discussion was the rest of the year. But when it comes to the sukkah, it was clear that Rabbi Yehuda said that it's chayiv on sukkahs, which we're fine with. But the problem is the Rabbanan said that it's pater, which means that on sukkahs itself there's an issue, there's a machlekes. You were telling me that the machlekes if I make a gzeira the rest of the year, but it turns out that there's a machlekes on sukkahs itself if a sukkah requires a mezuzah. Elam Rava, so Rava says we can't learn that the machlekes is the rest of the year if I make a gzeira because of the time. That would have been great if the Rabbanan didn't say that you're pater on sukkahs. Elam Rava b'shayim ma'asashana kuli amalei pligi the petura. Rava does it the other way. The rest of the year, everyone agrees that you're exempt from mezuzah. Keep pligi b'shiva, b'sukkah. The machlekes is regarding the 7 days that the Kohen Gadol is there and the sukkah. I'm sorry, the sukkah time alachud, v'lishka time alachud, and each one has its own reason. So it goes like this. Sukkah time alachud, this is a beautiful explanation. Rabbi Yehuda l'tamei damer sukkah diras keva bina and machayva b'mezuzah. Rabban l'tamei damer sukkah diras harayim blame machayva b'mezuzah. If there's one machlekes that you take out from a sefta sukkah, it's that Rabbi Yehuda holds that a sukkah is diras keva, and a permanent dwelling. That means that Rabbi Yehuda held that a sukkah is allowed to be above 20 amas. He held that if you sleep under a bed in a sukkah, it doesn't nullify the diras keva. He has a bunch of opinions that are going to tell us that a sukkah is a permanent house. Okay, 20 amas, that's why it could be. And the Rabbanan say no, it needs to be a temporary dwelling. So if the sukkah is a diras keva, if that's the case, so then it's chayiv b'mezuzah. And the Rabbanan hold that a sukkah is pater from mezuzah. The lishka time alachud, however, the machlekes regarding the lishkas parhedron, that has its own reason. Rabbanan sabri dira bal karcha shmei dira. A house that's not really your choice house, but that's where you're like forced to be, that's considered a dwelling place, and therefore it's chayiv b'mezuzah. Rabbi Yehuda says a dir bal karcha leishmei dira. Rabbi Yehuda says a force that you, a house that you're forced to be in, you don't want to be there. So that's not called a dwelling.
No.
So therefore, Rabbi Yehuda says that it's only a rabbinic decree that the Lishkas Parhedrin has a mezuzah. We don't want to say that the Kohen Gadol is in prison. Yeah. So, Man Tanala de Tanarabanan, who's the author of the following brisa? It says, Kol Hasharim Shayisham Layhayalem Mezuzah Chutz Mishar Nikanar Shalachnim Men Lishkas Parhedrin. All the gates of the Beis Hamikdash did not have mezuzahs, except for the Shar Nikanar that did have a mezuzah, because within the Shar Nikanar was the Lishkas Parhedrin, and if the inner gate has, if the inner chamber has a mezuzah, the outer one that leads to that also gets a mezuzah. It's obviously the Rabbanan that says that the Shar Nikanar has, and not Rabbi Yehuda. The Rabbi Yehuda, he gufa gzeira, because according to Rabbi Yehuda, the whole reason why the Lishkas Parhedrin has a mezuzah is because we didn't want people to say that the Kohen Gadol is in prison, so we put up a mezuzah, a rabbinic decree. So if that's a rabbinic decree, we're going to make a decree on the decree, and we're going to put up a mezuzah on the Shar Nikanar, because within it is this other room that we put up just because of a decree. But not nekem and gzeira. It can't be the Rabbi Yehuda's view, this price. The Gemara answers, I feel Rabbi Yehuda kulachad gzeiri. No. It's all one decree. We don't want people to say that the Kohen Gadol is being held in prison, so therefore we have to put up a mezuzah both on the Shar Nikanar and the Lishkas Parhedrin. Let's leave it over here.
Oh yeah, everybody.